Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Street Tips here. What I have here is some computer scrap, trimmed circuit card fingers. And so what we're going to do, I bought these two bags here for about $100, which is grossly overpriced. But I don't care. I need these to make this video. And we got about 200 grams for those two bags. All right, I paid about $400 for these two. These are a pound a piece. I'm going to add these to our beaker here. All right, so we got 1,100 grams so far. Then I paid $500 for this bag. It's got 4 pounds of the trimmed fingers. So I'm going to add these to the beaker now. All right, we got 2,900 grams of trimmed circuit card fingers. What I have here is a HDPE bucket. I've drilled holes in the bottom of it, and I borrowed this idea from another refiner. What we're going to do is pour these fingers now into this bucket carefully. I've got a clean 5-gallon bucket, and what we'll do is lower the fingers down into this 5-gallon bucket. I've got some hydrochloric acid here, and what we'll do is pour a gallon of hydrochloric acid right on into the trimmed fingers now. I've got some 3% hydrogen peroxide from the grocery store. We're going to add that right on. This is about 1 liter of 3% hydrogen peroxide. Just going to add that right to the fingers. Here I've got another gallon of hydrochloric acid. And we're going to top it off now to cover the fingers completely with hydrochloric acid. Here you can see the acid peroxide mixture is starting to react, creating some fizzing and bubbling. I'm going to insert a bubbler tube now, and this will bubble some air into our mixture and assist in dissolving out the base metals underneath the gold foils to release the gold foils. Now I'm going to place a cover on here loosely, and we'll cover the whole thing up to keep the rain off of it. It's been 24 hours since we started the experiment. Here's our trimmed fingers down here in the acid peroxide solution. And I can see some fingers floating on top of the liquid. And we're just going to let this continue to react until we get all of those fingers loosened up away from the pieces of fiberboard. This is 24 hours. Alright, today is June 13th, Sunday, and we put these things in here on Monday the 7th, so these have been in here about 7 days now. And let's take a look and see how these things are looking. In the AP solution, oh yeah, I'm seeing a few foils coming loose in here. So we'll just let this continue to bubble away and loosen up these gold foils, and we'll move on and go from here. It's day 7 of this. Okay, I haven't been out here to check on this for about 10 or 12 days now. So this has been on bubbling for 10 or 12 days. Let's see what we got in here. Oh yeah. Them gold foils are coming off of there now. Looking real good. But it's still, some of them are still attached to the fiber. So what we'll do is just leave it in here and continue to let it bubble until we've got all of the gold foils off of there. Let's take a look and see what our experiment looks like under here. These have been bubbling away in the acid peroxide now for about 2 weeks. And I think they're ready for us to process here. Take a look and see what we got down in here. I'm going to cover these up, and we're going to take these in now and set them at the foot of the fume hood and see if we can recover these gold foils. Here I've got a clean 5-gallon bucket, and what I'm going to do is pour in about 2 gallons of tap water here straight into this 5-gallon bucket. Now what I'll do is I'm going to lift the fingers in the acid peroxide up out of this acid, and we're going to let the acid drain off of there. Any loose foils that are in here should drain off into the bottom of this bucket right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this bucket with these loose foils in here, and I'm going to submerge them into the bucket with the water. I still got a lot of foils sticking to the pieces of fiber in there. So what I'll do is I'm going to stick this right back in the acid, and we'll let it continue to bubble with our bubbler. All right, I'm going to stick the lid back on here, and what we'll do now is I'm going to pour this tap water back into this bucket here and see what we got in here. Should have some foils in here. Here we go. All right, there we go. Look at them foils down in the bottom of that bucket. Nice. Let's see if we can get a close-up on them. That's our prize. Here's the gold foils that we've collected so far. I'm going to save this water down here. We'll reuse it for the next time we rinse the gold foils out of the acid peroxide bucket there. But for right now, what I'm going to do is transfer these gold foils down into this beaker. Looks like we've got some kind of chloride forming down in here. I'm going to add a little bit of hydrochloric acid, and that should dissolve it off and clear this up for us. Here's the gold foils that we've recovered so far. And as usual, I'm kind of making this process up as we go. And what I'm thinking is we're going to be able to get some of the gold foils that's down in the bottom of this container. To do that, what I'll do is pour this solution in here. This is just the water that we use to rinse our gold foils out of the container in here. All right, now we're going to put this container back in the water here. Get all the acid drained off of there that we can. See, what'll happen is this bucket's got holes in it. Any foils that's in this bucket should drain off with the acid peroxide solution down into this bucket through the holes in the bottom of this one. Now we're going to move this right over here and put it in our water. All right, what I have here is another clean bucket. So what we'll do is we'll pour the acid peroxide solution off into this clean bucket and see if we've got any gold foils down in the bottom of here. This is the acid peroxide bubbling bucket that I have outside in my covered container area. Should be some gold foils in here. It's gonna be hard to see. See how black that liquid is? Looks like used motor oil. Here we go. Here's the big reveal. I can see some gold foils. Oh yeah. There's our gold foils in the bottom of our acid peroxide bucket. This is our gold foils down in here. And what we'll do now is we're going to grab the trimmed fingers out of here. What I'm trying to do is use the least amount of liquid possible to prevent creating a whole bunch of waste that must be treated before we dispose of it. Put this back down into the acid peroxide button because there's still gold foils sticking to those pieces of fiberboard. Put this back out onto the bubbler. There's a look in here. If you look, we've still got plenty of foils that are adhering to the trimmed fingers. So we need to bubble this in some more acid peroxide for a little while longer. I'll just keep doing that until all them gold foils come off of there. Alrighty, here we go. Here's the foils that we just collected down in the bottom of this bucket. What we'll do now is add them to our beaker right here, if I can fit this in there. And we'll transfer these foils down into our beaker. All right, I've got all the gold foils in the bottom of this beaker. I'm going to pour this waste solution off, and we'll take a look at what we've got down here. Should be fairly spectacular looking. Look at that. Here's our gold foils. Look at that. All right, here's our collected gold foils so far. And I'm not expecting a whole lot of gold from this experiment. Probably about 1.5 grams per pound, and I had about 6 pounds of trimmed fingers. So we're talking maybe about 9 grams of pure gold from this experiment, from that amount of trimmed fingers. What I'm going to do now is add a little bit of hydrochloric acid, and we're going to rinse the fingers, or the gold foils, some hydrochloric acid. I'm going to pour this off into this waste beaker right here. Here's our gold foils in there. Man, look at them things. Now what I'm going to do is add some hydrochloric acid to this beaker with our foils. We're just going to store the foils in a little hydrochloric acid. And then we'll hang on to this solution as well. We'll filter any gold that might have went over in this waste solution into a filter paper and include it with our batch of gold foils. Here's our gold foils in the waste solution. It's been sitting there for about 3 weeks. I've been busy working on the jeweler's carpet. Haven't had a chance to get down in here, so let's see what we've got going on inside of this bucket. We had that out bubbling in with some air for a couple of weeks. And it looks like there's still some foils adhering to our the fiberboard. I've allowed most of the acid to drain off. So now what we'll do, this is our water bucket, and we'll dunk the material in here. Try to rinse some of those gold foils off the best we can. Here I'm just rinsing the fingers off in plain tap water. I keep dunking it into that water, and you can see there's quite a few foils that come off through the holes in the bottom of the bucket. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. I've got another bucket with holes drilled in the bottom of it, and I'm going to split the fingers between those two buckets to make it a little easier to work with. Just keep dunking them in the water and rinsing the gold foils off of the fiberboard down into the water. I allow it to settle for a few minutes, and then we'll pour the water off and get our beautiful gold foils out of the bottom of that bucket. I'm using that beaker to accumulate all of the collected gold foils. I just rinse them down in there with some distilled water. Don't have to use distilled water here. We can use tap water. And I've got a few more foils now that I've rinsed off from the fingers. I'm going to gather those up, pour off the wastewater. Continue dunking the fingers in that tap water. And now we'll put it up in the fume hood, pour off the waste, and collect the gold fingers in our collection beaker. Transfer the water out of this one into this clean bucket. There's our prize down at the bottom of the bucket, all those gold foils. This is the only way I can think of to do this, is to sort through each of these pieces one by one, and when I find some that's got gold foils off, just kind of rub them off with my finger in there until they all come off, and then we'll throw this into a bucket over here. Here we go. I've got all of the foils off of the fiberboard, nearly 100%. Down here, I've got the foils that we've collected so far in the bottom of the beaker. And then down here, I've got the rinse water and the original AP solution. So what we'll do now is I've got a filter rig set up here, and we're going to filter these two solutions. We've got a giant coffee filter here. We'll use that to filter our rinse water and our AP solution. We'll begin by filtering this green waste solution that we got from the first part of the video. It's going to have some gold foils in it. Now I'll start pouring the rinse water into our filter. We're going to add the gold foils from our beaker. And we're going to put this right into the filter now. Collect everything in the filter. Here's a look at the gold foils down in our filter. While I'm waiting for that last bit of liquid to pull through the filter, what we'll do is we'll get ready to filter the AP solution. It's been settling for about 4 or 5 hours, so all the solids should be down on the bottom of the bucket. I'm going to begin by pouring off most of it into this waste bucket. All the liquid is filtered out of these foils, so what I'll do is I'll gather it all up and transfer it into that tall 2-liter beaker. I've got that basket sitting on a glass rod, and I've got a pair of tweezers installed there to locate it so it won't move around. And so now what we'll do is transfer the filter rig down onto the bucket that we just poured the AP solution into. Here's those large coffee filters I'm using. There's a number. I don't know if you can use that to order those, but this fits good in that large filter basket I'm using. I've transferred the bucket with the AP solution up onto the table there. And we're going to filter the rest of the AP solution now. There's not many gold foils in that AP solution, but there's a few down on the bottom of the bucket, and that will help us with our yield. While I'm waiting for that liquid to pull through that filter, I'm going to add about 1/2 liter of hydrochloric acid to the gold foils. Here I'm adding a shot of sulfuric acid to precipitate out any lead that may be present. Now I'm adding nitric acid to the gold foils to start dissolving them. We're going to use Aqua Regia. We could use bleach or hydrogen peroxide, but nitric acid is much quicker. 12 milliliters of concentrated nitric acid. Now I'll cover it up, give it a stir, and we'll put it up on the heat. This is about a 15-minute time lapse. You can see the gold foils disappearing in the Aqua Regia. There I gave it a stir. I'm adding another shot of nitric, 3 milliliters, and stir it again, and it didn't take long, and all the gold foils have dissolved. Here's the rest of the foils from the AP solution. They look pretty dirty. All we're going to do is just go ahead and add these right on in. There's not very much there. Just add the whole filter right to our beaker back here. Reach in here and give this a stir. I think all the gold foils have dissolved by now. Got a piece of filter paper. We're going to dip it down in our solution down here. Now we're going to get a stannous test right quick. Oh yeah, we got nice dark stain, which indicates we have gold in solution. This only took about 10 or 15 minutes on the heat. There's still a bunch of junk down at the bottom down there, but I don't think that's gold. So what we'll do now is we're going to grab this thing and pull it down off the heat and let it cool down. I've added some ice to the beaker to cool it down. And now what we'll do is we'll filter our solution. This is pulling through fairly quickly. The solution is nice and clear. It's got a little bit of green tint, but that's normal because we're going to have some copper in there. So we're going to add the rest of this liquid and those solids to our funnel. With all that junk. I don't know what that white stuff is. It's not gold, it's just junk. Here's what's left in the filter. If you look down here, the solution is nice and clear. Pulled through quickly. Only took about 10 minutes to get everything to come through there. The water, I've rinsed it several times and the water is flowing clear and colorless in there. So I'm fairly certain we've got everything rinsed, all the gold solution rinsed out of the solids. Alright, we've got most of the water pulled off. What we'll do now is transfer the solution to a clean beaker. So our solution's got a little tint of green, probably due to some copper in there. Okay, we're going to add some Stump Out by Bonide. Precipitate out the pure gold. Here we go. See a little bit of fume production on the top there, which indicates we may have a little bit of excess nitric in that solution. Get a quick Stannis test here. Make sure we've dropped all of the gold out of the solution. I don't see any reaction at all. So all the gold has been precipitated. This only took about a half hour to settle. What we're going to do now is pour off the waste solution to my waste container here. Here's a look at our gold down in the beaker. Alright, I'm not going to mess around with a bunch of hydrochloric acid rinses and other rinses. I'm just going to Rinse it once right quick with some water. And now what we'll do is get a melt dish up here. We're going to add the gold right to our melt dish. Now we're going to transfer the gold in the melt dish over to the melt table. Doesn't look too bad for a single refining. We're going to put some flame on this thing and try to melt it up into a little button so we can get a yield. Okay, here's our little gold bead button. It don't look too bad at all. Let's get a weight on this thing. 9.6 grams of pure gold, probably 995 purity. So what did we start out with here? We had 2909 grams of fingers. Divide that by 454 grams per pound. So we had 6.4 pounds. So let's divide 9.6 grams divided by 6.4 pounds. That's about 1.5 grams of pure gold per pound of those trimmed fingers. All right, let's see what the yield was then. So we got 9.6 divided by 2909. Looks like we've got 0.003. What's that? That's 0.3 of 1% yield of pure gold from 6.4 pounds of trimmed circuit card fingers. All right, that will conclude the video. I'd like to thank everyone for watching.